There's something I'm forgetting.
Get ready to rock with another episode of Grotto Beasts.
Grotto Beasts, available now.
Hello once again, friends and enemies, and welcome back to Card Game Review. And today we're going to be talking about a card game that, if you're like me, you might remember from when you were in elementary school and maybe you knew a kid that had an older sibling that liked card games. I am talking, of course, about the newly renewed Grotto Beasts. Grotto Beasts was a monster-catching card game created in 1996, liquidated in 1997, and then, in 2021, was found in the middle of the Mojave Desert by Jeremy Albertson. After rediscovering the old card game, his company Albertson & Sons purchased out the rights for Grotto Beasts, and it just came out again for the first time just in the last month or two. Honestly, getting to see this card game is pretty exciting because I did hear about it from one specific kid in my class when I was growing up, and I never got to actually play with it or actually see the cards. He just said that his brother had them, you know? And now that it's here and I have gotten to play it, I can definitively say that Grotto Beasts is actually really, really fun. So let's go ahead and get into talking about the game. Grotto Beasts is a game played with exactly a 40 card deck that is made up of 3 different types of cards. You've got your Beast cards, your Grottos, and your Wish cards. There is a 4th type of card known as Challenger cards, but this is for a format that I'm not going to be looking at today. For this review, we're just going to be looking at the classic gameplay. All 3 of the card types are relatively the same, having a card cost right above their text box and a little blue jewel on the left side of the card. The only exception of the cards is the Beast type cards that have a power value in the top left-hand side of the card. This value relates to not only the damage output that this beast can do, but also the amount of damage that this beast can take before it gets destroyed. When deck building in Grotto Beasts, it's actually recommended that at least half of your deck is made up of Beast cards. And now that we've gone over the simple cards of the deck, let's go ahead and get into the gameplay. Here we have our Grotto Beast playmat. After choosing which player goes first, we draw the top 6 cards of our deck and begin the game. We start the turn with our start of turn phase. And since it's our first turn, we're just going to skip right to the draw step where we draw the top card of our deck into our hand. Next, we move on to the first action phase where a few things can be done. The first thing we can do is summon a card. Beasts, Grottos, or Wishes can all be summoned, and there's a specific way to do it. Whenever we want to summon a card, we reveal the card to our opponent, and we take a look at the card cost. Birthday Basher costs 4. So we're going to take 4 cards from our hand in any order and put them face down into our summoning pool. This will allow us to put our Birthday Basher into any section of our team zone, or our sideline zone if we'd like. If we were to play a Grotto, we could only play a Grotto into our sideline zone. If we were to play a Wish, we would summon our Wish, activate the effect, and then swiftly discard the Wish card once its effect was finished. If Birthday Basher were summoned to our opponent's side of the field, while they would pay the cost, we would draw the cost of the card from our summoning pool. If we had no cards in our summoning pool, we would draw the cost from our deck instead. The first summon per turn can be done without consequence. However, every summon afterward requires that your opponent have at least 1 card in their summoning pool in order for you to summon. If your opponent has no cards in their summoning pool, you're done summoning for the turn after your first summon. Aside from summoning, we can also choose to move our beasts during the first action phase. Our beasts can move from any row in our team section to one adjacent to it, or they can move from the team to the sideline, or they can move from any sideline row to the row adjacent to it. Grottos cannot move once they're on the field. Lastly, for the action phase, we could activate effects on any of our cards. Moving from the action phase, we go to the battle phase. It is important to note before we get into the battle phase that when a beast first enters the field, it cannot be chosen to attack or to move in play. This is because of an effect called Summoning Sadness that automatically affects all beasts that come into play. If any beasts on our field do not have Summoning Sadness, we can choose to attack with them if we would like. When attacking with a beast, you must rest it, turning it to its side. A beast always is chosen to attack an opponent, but our opponent can choose to defend if they would like. If we have an attacking beast and our opponent has any beasts on their side of the field, they can choose to defend with their beast by resting it as well. Then their beast's power meets our beast power, and whichever beast has the lowest power gets destroyed. If our opponent has no beasts, or if we have excess damage from our beast's attack that destroyed a defending beast, we get to score some cards. When scoring cards, you take the top cards from the top of your deck and put them into the score pile face down, equal to the amount of damage dealt to the opponent. After the battle step, we move on to the second action phase, which acts just like the first action phase. From there, we move on to the end step. During the end step, we take a look at our cards in our hand. If we have more than 6, we discard down to 6 cards. Once it comes back to our turn, we go to the start of turn step, and before we draw, we enter the waking step, where we awaken any resting beasts. If for whatever reason we have no deck cards to draw from, we would take our discard pile and shuffle it up in order to reinstate our deck. If this were to happen, all opposing players would score 2 cards from the top of their deck. A player wins when they have 10 score cards in their score pile. And there we have it, Grotto Beasts. It's actually pretty fun, and I do like all of the interesting ways that the game works in conjunction with other card games. And of course, when you take a look at how the game plays, you can definitely see the Pokemon inspiration in the way that the cards are, but in the gameplay, you can see the inspirations from games like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, given that this game is so new and there's no real way to tell if there's a market for it, the cards themselves are kind of expensive to get. The 2-player starter pack that I received was an $80 pack to get, and each individual booster pack for Grotto Beasts is about $10. You can try to get like the original 1997 run of these cards, but they're only sold by one guy on eBay who sells them for crazy, ridiculous prices. The game is relatively easy to learn actually. It's not that hard for newcomers to learn how to play, and as for accessibility, while there isn't currently an online simulator for Grotto Beasts, they are working on a tabletop simulator mod for Grotto Beasts, so you have that to look forward to if you either have Tabletop Simulator or are thinking about buying it. All that being said, Grotto Beasts is actually really well thought out, and you can tell that the people that worked on this game were very passionate about card games when they worked on it, or at least are pretty big fans of card games. The way Grotto Beasts work can definitely make it feel like the game is going a bit too fast, but if you'd like to, you can actually just play a different format wherein you use challenger cards, and the challenger cards will make the game go a little bit longer. And when we wrap this all up into one neat little package, we get Grotto Beasts as it currently is. I really do like this card game, even as just a little gimmicky joke, and I think that I should rate it fairly as a real card game. I'm gonna give Grotto Beasts a 7 out of 10. I think it really deserves it. I think the amount of time that was put into thinking of how this game would play out really deserves a pretty good score. Fun, engaging, and easy to learn. All of this with Grotto Beasts. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that some of you out there might be willing to pick up Grotto Beasts. I know that it's an expensive card game. I know that. Germa knows that. He's talked about it plenty of times, but it's a really good game. If you have the money and it won't break you and you're willing to get it, definitely get Grotto Beast. If you're not willing to get it, or if you don't have the amount of money, if you want to get Tabletop Simulator, definitely wait until that Tabletop Sim mod is out. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I can't recommend this game enough just for the stupid little type of game that it is. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, drink your water.